Like a wallet chain for your brain, this is the Normal Isn't Necessary podcast, brought to you in part by the Gumball Head Sobriety Society. And generous listeners just like you, thank you to everyone who has participated in the GoFundMe for hashtag Rennie Talk. Thank you to all those people that have already subscribed, followed, commented, and let us know that you're out there. And thank you to all our new listeners who are about to hit that follow button so that you never miss a moment of the Normal Isn't Necessary podcast. Whether it be our Road Rant series, which is this right here, where we piss and moan and complain on our way to work. Our live drive at 5-ish, where we decompress on our way home from work. Or our Get to Know You series, where we do interviews with our friends, our family, our supporters, and our followers. And also to those families that have reached out to us, like the Modern Biking Beard Care family. Check out their website, modernbikingllc.com. Use code Gumball10 for 10% off your order. Shipping over $35 is free. Let them know we sent you. Beard care products, beard balms, beard oils, shampoos, soaps, and the ladies' line is the Shield Maiden. Amazing body butter. Smells so good you could eat it. But as you can see on my unboxing video on YouTube, I don't recommend you eat it. So check out the links in our bio. The link tree is available to you, or just go to our website, gumballhead.com. All of this information is brought to you as a reminder that we are listener funded, and we rely on your support to maintain our consistency. And it goes to purchase things like our DJI Mini Mic 2 and our GoPro cameras, our everything that we use for our broadcast. Welcome to the show today. I'm putting this out there, and I want to make sure everybody understands something. I don't feel entitled to anything. Everything that I own, everything that I possess, everything that is part of my day-to-day, including my family, my kids, my car, my phone, my headset, all that stuff, I've earned. I've not been given anything. Now, the only time that we have ever been given anything is when we're gifted money from GoFundMe or from, our in-laws or from our friends, tossing money our way for hashtag Rennie Talk, tossing money our way for the podcast. But see, we don't get those donations if we don't ask for them. And this does a lot of things behind the scene for us as well. Things that people don't see. Sometimes our guests require a little bit of monetization to come onto our show, and we don't pay our guests. Our guests come on here in their own free will with promotability and visibility, So, but those things still cost money. It still costs time. It still costs for us to do these things, including, purchasing our website, making sure that's paid for and maintained, our podcast, making sure our annual fees are covered for the podcast. And as we grow and as we get better and as we have more things happen, it costs more money. And we're able to keep that going by funding from people like you. But I saw a TikTok yesterday that really hit home for me. A TikTok that really, struck a chord within my brain, and I kind of thought about things, and I was like, you know what, you're right. And it really brought something to mind for me, and it kind of reminded me of the old me. Now, I've been through some shit in my life. I've been through a lot of things in my life. I've gone through addiction. I've gone through recovery. I've gone through abuse. I've gone through narcissism and gaslighting. I've been through mental health abuse, spousal abuse in the past. Not physical, but mostly mental, and I've been through a lot of things in my life. But the one thing that people can't take away from us is experience and the things that we've done in our lives and the things that we've been through in our lives. And people can't take that away from us. Disease can take that away from us, but people cannot take that away from us, Now, that's not to say that there's not different or alternative ways to do things or experiences that can enhance or augment our current experiences. What I'm saying, though, is once you learn righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, that's experience. Okay? You're already more valuable than people that don't know the righty-tighty, lefty-loosey thing. It's like tightening down the seats on, the seat on a toilet seat. Tightening down the bolts on a toilet seat. Once you get them to that certain spot where the bolt's not going to loosen, you didn't break anything, and it just stays for a long period of time, that toilet seat's going to loosen up over time, period. There's nothing you can do about it. It's going to loosen up. But with experience, you learn that you just got to tighten it to that sweet spot one more time, and then you don't have to adjust it again for 6 months. Okay? I do a lot of toilet seat tightening in my career. It's crazy the amount of toilet seat tightening that I do actually do. Same thing with unclogging garbage disposals in toilets. It's consistency. And that experience, every time I do it, it enhances my experience and it teaches me more. And yesterday, we had a incident with an air conditioning unit that I've been working on for a little while, and there was a clogged drain. And I checked all of the key components that I always check. I checked the fuses, I checked the batteries, I checked the outside power, I checked the inside power. I make sure the system's calling for cool, I make sure that the air filter's clean, I make sure that the fins on the air conditioning unit are clean. I do all those things. I clear the condensate line, I do this, I do that. Yesterday, I ended up having to have a professional come out. Now, mind you, I'm a professional to an extent, okay? I'm not a heating and cooling guy. This is my first year working with heating and cooling and learning all the bumps and the tricks and the trades and all that. Okay, this is my first summer as an HVAC guy, and I've learned a ton. Last winter was my first winter as a heating guy. Okay, I came into my company, into my job, on the tail end of HVAC season, of cooling season, and on the cusp of heating season. I've still got a ton to learn there as well. Now I could see why maintenance companies are looking for people with HVAC experience, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with a heating and cooling unit, even though there are just a few components. All right, but here's the TikTok that I saw. I'm not going to play it or anything like that, but I'm going to give you the breakdown of it. The TikTok starts off with a guy going, "I'm not paying for my employees' tools, that's on them." And the other guy sitting across the table from him said, "Why not?" And the guy goes on to explain why the cost of tools is a hindrance to the company, and the cost of tools is the responsibility of the employee. The cost of tools is if the employee quits, they're going to take the tools with them. Now, here's the thing. As I watched this video, the other guy was explaining to him, if you want to show how valued your employees are, you'll give them tools. You'll give them the tools to do their job, because they're not bringing the tools with them to work. They're bringing the experience. And if you're taking that experience and you're paying for that experience, but you're making that person with the experience use their own tools to work on things, you're taking away from them. And here's what the breakdown of that was. If you are a tradesman and you are on a construction site and your drill breaks and you own that company or you own that job, you need to go and spend money on a new drill. You have to buy a new drill, and at the end of the day, you ended up with money lost out of your pocket because your job expected you to pay for that drill. Now, most of your bigger companies have a budget for tools taken right off, and at the end of the year, usually there's a surplus, and companies utilize that surplus as an opportunity for bonus. Now, here's the way I look at it, and this is just me being analytical, but let's say your company has a $10,000 tool surplus at the end of the year, and they turn around and they buy, 5 $300 sets, and then they do a giveaway. Or even better yet, they take that $10,000 tool surplus and they buy $110 sets. I'm just doing it for easy math. $10,000 sets. Now you have 10 sets worth of tools that you're giving out to your employees as a giveaway, as a potential bonus for these people. And then you go into, your name goes into a hat, and then you might win these tools. Well, here's the thing. I don't need another oscillating tool. I don't need another impact driver. I need to replace that drill that I bought in the middle of summer when I was running that drill 50 hours a week. I need that money back. But these companies get the opportunity, and I know this because I've been a business owner. My first company that I ever started, my interior remodeling business, I paid for my partner's truck. I paid for my partner's cargo trailer. Now, I didn't buy him a brand new truck in 2002. I bought him a 1997 Dodge Ram pickup truck for like $800, I think I paid for it. The cargo trailer was not brand new. It was like a 1989 cargo trailer, but the door's shut and there was no rust on it. I think I paid $1,000 for that. So that was $2,000 that I invested in my employee. Why? Well, because I was tired of picking him up in the morning. Because I had work that I needed to do before my crew showed up for the day. And to stop and pick up an employee who's still in the shower when I get there, you know, at that time, cell phones weren't dominant like they are now. That work, those resources were a little bit more difficult to come by. Okay, in order for me to do a quote on somebody's house, I had to show up with a tape measure and a notebook, go home, write everything down. So I'm spending an hour doing the quote on the house. Then I go home and I spend an hour working out the pricing, typing up an email, sending the email to the customer, and then I waited to find out whether or not they accepted the bid. Now, emails, now you can do right there on job site. You can do it before you leave. There's software that you can type your numbers into. These are all things I utilize at this time. And you can get an answer to them in minutes, but it still takes time. So in order to meet somebody at 6:30 in the morning because they have to, they have to get ready for work, but they want that quote done that day, I had to be there at 6:15. And if I had to pick up my partner at the time at 7 o'clock, I was either rushing to pick my partner up or I was rushing the customer out the door and missing things, which oftentimes ended up in additional products or additional material or additional time quoted on the job that I missed because I needed to pick my employee up. Things get missed. Things get overlooked. Things get undersold. Things happen as a result of that. So I bought my employee a truck and trailer, and now after I do my quotes at 6:30 in the morning, I don't have to worry about being to my employee's house at 7 o'clock to pick them up because I know that they're going to be at the job site at 8 o'clock when I ask them to be there. Why? Because I provided a mode of transportation. Gas was on my employee up until we started getting gas cards. Once we started making money, once we started budgeting for those expenses. But up front, I bought that employee a truck and I bought that employee a trailer in exchange for a promise to be there on time and to take care of it as if it were his own. And if things ever happened, I would get the truck and trailer back. Not only did I buy that truck and trailer, but I bought all the tools that went into that truck and trailer. Not all of them. My partner had some of his own tools, but if a mud mixer broke, I wasn't going to expect my employee to go and buy a new mud mixer. Mud mixers break down. They fall apart over time because we use them. Drills break down over time because we use them. Screwdrivers break because we use them. Now, basic hand tools are one thing. Okay? Most of your basic hand tools are $15 to $20. They go in a tool belt. You don't use them a ton. Not a big deal if they get lost. If you lose them, that's one thing. If you break them, it's another thing. Okay? But to expect somebody to show up on the job site with anything other than a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a flat screwdriver, a hammer, a tape measure, and a tool belt. Those were the only requirements that I had for my employees. And if it wasn't the right hammer, we got them the right hammer. You know, guys would show up with 16-ounce Estwing, hammers and think that they were going to frame a wall with it. No, we need a 20-ounce Estwing framing hammer or a Vaughn or whatever brand, dead on, whatever we decided that we wanted to do. But, your 16-ounce isn't going to really cut it. We'll make sure to get you squared away. And it might not have been on their first day. We needed to see how capable they were of using the tools that they had. But over time, as they worked, they got more and more tools. They got the tools they needed to do the job. If they were constantly borrowing a screw gun from their coworker as a result of needing to use a screw gun on a site, then they needed a screw gun. Because I purchased that screw gun for my partner, now his helper needed their own screw gun because now their value is increased. As a result, your productivity increases. Your ability to take care of those other people increases. And when we started the business, I bought him a truck and trailer, I bought him scaffolding, I bought him drywall benches, I bought him drywall mud taping tools, I bought him, and then eventually, as we got bigger and bigger and bigger and had a little bit more of a budget, we started buying those taping boxes and all of the drywall taping tools. Why? Well, we increased our speed, we increased our efficiency, we increased our crew sizes, and we were able to do more work more efficiently with the tools that we provided because we weren't relying on payday for our employee to buy those tools. They had the tools they needed to do the job. It was up to them to use their experience on what way to do it. I never showed up on a job site and said, you need to use that taping box for a guy that was a mud pan in a taping knife user. I never once did that. If that's what you're comfortable with using, then that's what you're going to use. Over time, we upgraded our tools. We upgraded our trucks. We upgraded our trailers. We got gas cards. The company was able to provide gas, but it needed to be a justifiable expense. If I noticed that my partner was spending more money on fuel, it was, hey, you know what? You got to quit using your work truck for personal use. All right, boss, my bad. It was never anything more than that. Was I ever worried about my tools being stolen? No. Once they did get stolen by my employee, I learned a lesson. Well, it's not the company's fault that the tools got stolen. It was my fault because I didn't pre-screen this person well enough. He had his own demons that he was fighting. He had his own issues that he was dealing with and things that he felt that he needed to do. And when we get to a point in our life, we panic and we run. But had the conversation happened, there would have been different things. Open communication. And that was a conversation that he and I had. Why did you feel the need to run and sell the tools in the trailer? I needed the money. For what? And once he explained to me his situation, I said to him, man, if you would have said something to me a while back, we would have avoided this altogether. This never would have been an issue. This never would have been a problem. Oh, really? Yeah, man, I ain't mad at you. Just let's handle business. Let's make some money. Let's take care of business. Let's take care of the things that we need to take care of so that we can do the things that we need to do. Now, this spawned a Facebook post to where I said, first and foremost, buying an employee's tools shows value. You're investing in your investment. You're investing in the person that you hired to do the work. You're investing in the person that you brought in to do the job. You're paying for the experience, not for the tools. At the end of their tenure, you can decide whether or not you get to keep the tools or they get to keep the tools. My son, who's a diesel mechanic, buys his own tools. And at the end of the day, he gets to keep those tools. But his basic tools that he purchased or that he was given from his company, there was a requirement. You need to be here 2 years in order to get that set of tools. And when he fulfilled his obligation, he walked with a toolbox full of tools that were initially given to him. Now, mind you, there are other tools that he wanted to buy, but the tools that he needed to buy were always readily available. Your basic tool set is what I'm talking about. Your drills, your mud mixers. It depends on the trade that you're in. When you work for a company, do they make you buy your own laptop? Not usually. They provide one for you because they need to make sure that you have the laptop to do your job. And if you take your work home with you and you put that stuff on your computer, is it a violation of company policy? Well, it depends on the company. But if you've got your own laptop that you can take home with you, and they tell you don't look at TikTok and don't look at Facebook on your laptop, okay. Use your phone, use your home computer for that. Buy your own computer to look at TikTok. Buy your own computer to look at Facebook. if those are things that you need to do. Now, why am I harping on this so much? Well, I'm just trying to explain value. Relationships do the same thing. Okay, you don't need to buy your wife flowers weekly, but when you just bring home flowers one day, because isn't that pretty nice feeling appreciated? If you show up for work one day and your boss says to you, I'm buying you lunch today to say thank you for, all your hard work. Yeah, okay, pizza parties at your job, hey, that's all fine and well. Is that something that's consistent? No. Why do companies think that a pizza party is always going to make everything better? Well, it's because it's an affordable way to feed a mass amount of people and show your appreciation in one way or another. Companies are at the point now where they forget who's making them the money. If your tools are making you money, then you are making money with your tools. If your experience is making you money, then you're making the money with your experience. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to own the company, but if you rely on your experience and you rely on your tools and you rely on your hands and you rely on your knowledge in order to pay your bills, then that's exactly what the company's doing too. They're just providing you the work. So that's an expectation there. Okay? I'm expected to show up and do my job. I'm expected to tighten down toilet seat bowls. I'm expected to fix garbage disposals. I'm expected to unclog toilets. And there are a lot of the tools that I need at work that I can use. Okay? But a lot of the tools I came to my job already possessing too. Those tools break down over time. And it's scary for me to think that one of these days my drill's going to quit working, or one of these days my impact driver, my oscillating tool is going to quit working, and I have to have that conversation with my boss. Hey, do we have it in the budget to replace my tools? Because there's a possibility of them saying no, and then I'll be like, hey, you know what? I can't do my job without these tools. And then what? Well, they purchase the tools, and then they expect you to give the tools back when you're done working for them. They expect you to rescind the tools because they purchased the tools. After you already killed your drill, they're going to expect you to give their tools back. So not only did you use up your drill and your time and your effort and your experience, but then when you're done, you have nothing left. You have to still go and buy that tool. I think every tradesman out there that has a boss, that has a company that they work for, should be given power tools day one. Here are the tools. Now, if these break, we'll replace them. Not if these break, you need to replace them. We will replace them. They're yours to keep forever and ever. I know a lot of companies have reimbursement contracts and stuff like that, but here's the thing. After year one of working with those tools, they're already written off. Hey, we had to buy this tool for this employee, for this job, because this happened or that happened, and they write these tools off. They're no longer an expense because they've already been paid for and they've already been written off as a loss. But to have to give those tools back, where's the gain? Oh, well, we can just give those to the next employee. No, because you've already got less time on those tools, and you're going to have to buy them again, and you're going to get stuck in that redundant cycle. If you can't afford to buy tools for somebody, you shouldn't be in business, period. And I say that lightheartedly. I understand expenses in business, because when it comes right down to it, there are tools that I need to buy as well. There are things that I need to take care of financially. There are things that I need to take care of because I use them at my full-time job. I use them on my side jobs. All right? But they're tools. They're there to be used. They're there to be beat on. They're there to be, to augment our day-to-day turning of the wrists, to reduce carpal tunnel, to reduce downtime, to reduce the time it takes to do a job. That's why tools are what they are. And I'm full firm believer in the fact that if I break a tool at work and my company replaces that tool, that's my tool. I get to keep that. There's a lot of companies that say, nope, you don't get to. You don't get to keep that tool. It sucks. It really does. But on the flip side of things, there are a lot of times where we beat the hell out of our tools. I've used my drill as a hammer before. I'm not going to lie. I've used my circular saw to cut things that were not supposed to be cut with a circular saw. But do I do it on a persistent basis? No. But I take better care of the tools that I have to pay for as a result. Now if you're buying a new drill kit every single year, maybe your company needs to look at you. But if your company is worried about an employee stealing tools, then what does that say about their hiring practices? What does that say about their ability to make a good choice in hiring an employee? If you're concerned about your tools being stolen by that employee, well, the truth of it is maybe you shouldn't hire that employee. Correct? The mindset of taking care of those that take care of you has gone to the wayside. It's no longer a persistent analogy of taking care of business. Now it's, can this person make me money, and for how long can they do it? And then the appreciation subsides because you're making them money. And then they fall into that comfort zone of, I can keep this employee around for as long as I want. But after the initial hiring, where does the incentive go? Do you give annual raises? How much does that raise equate to the cost of living increase in life? If you get a 3% cost of living raise as an employee, not a merit raise, a cost of living raise, annually to keep up with the cost of living, your cost of living goes anywhere from 6 to 10%. That 3%, your employee's still struggling. That's how employers keep us locked in. That's how employers keep us from going elsewhere, because after that first year, you get those benefits. You get time off. You get, you still get paid for missing days. You get health insurance. You get this and that and the other thing. But there's no incentive aside from, here's a free day off. That's not something that you're going to be able to take with you when you die. The time spent, yep, okay, I spent a week with my family on vacation. When you die, that's gone. The same thing with tools. What the fuck does it matter? So many things in this world that negotiate our ability to do things on a respectable level that toss to the wayside all of these things that we've worked hard to do. Electrical contractors, plumbing contractors, drywallers, painters, caulkers, window glazers, window installers, carpenters, framing carpenters, finish carpenters. All these people have experience. All these people have knowledge. All these people have tools, not just in their hands, but between their ears, that companies rely on a consistent basis. The appreciation isn't always there. If you're not happy where you're at, find someplace that'll make you happy. And until our paths cross, stay strong, stay focused, stay sober. Much love. We'll see you all soon.